Waiting on a government decision carries a very specific kind of weight. You submit your paperwork, you take a ticket, and then you wait. But in a traditional system, there is a known architecture to that delay. Somewhere inside that building, a specific human official is sitting at a desk reviewing your application. They hold the ultimate responsibility for whatever comes next. Because there is a person in the room, you have options. You can explain extenuating circumstances. You can appeal to their sense of duty. If all else fails, you can request to speak with their supervisor. This human-driven process is notoriously, agonizingly slow, but it guarantees one crucial thing. When a mistake happens, you know exactly who to hold liable. That entire architecture breaks when the final decision maker is an algorithm. We are not talking about a recommendation engine that suggests the next step to a clerk. We are talking about an autonomous agent granted the absolute authority to approve or deny your request. If that machine rejects your business license, a massive liability gap opens up. Who is responsible for your economic loss? Do you sue the software developer who built the model, the state that deployed it, or the clerk monitoring the server that day? The United Arab Emirates is currently confronting this exact problem. To handle the massive scale of their rapidly growing urban centers, they need a way to process high volumes of public services without infinitely expanding their civil service headcount. Autonomous agents offer a way to scale, but if citizens feel they are being governed by unaccountable black boxes, public trust evaporates. To prevent a crisis of legitimacy, the government is having to engineer a completely new regulatory framework for machine decision authority. The core mechanism of the UAE strategy is classification. They are drawing strict legal boundaries that dictate exactly where a human sits in the loop, dividing AI into two distinct categories to resolve the liability gap. The first category is the tool. Here, the AI acts as an assistant. It might sort massive queues, flag potential risks, or draft a response, but a human operator always presses the final button. Here, the human retains legal responsibility. The machine flags data, the person makes the call. Category 2 is the surrogate. The system executes decisions automatically. The human becomes a passive overseer. Liability shifts to the state. This boundary dictates the entire structure of government technology. It determines by law whether a human or a machine holds the authority to tell a citizen no. Before rolling this out nationwide, the UAE is stress testing this legal framework inside Dubai's free zones, which serve as highly controlled physical regulatory sandboxes. They are starting with environments that require staggering throughput, specifically logistics and customs processing. Inside these test zones, government auditors use three primary metrics to determine if a system is acting as a mere support tool or a fully autonomous agent. The first is accountability, pinning down exactly who holds the liability for a failure. The second is scalability. Support systems can only scale by hiring more human operators. Autonomous systems scale by simply adding compute capacity. The third requirement is transparency. If a system is going to operate as a surrogate, it requires explainable AI. It has to be able to justify its decisions to the affected parties. By defining a clear legal personality for AI inside these strictly bounded zones, the government can observe system failures safely in life conditions, long before they ever impact the broader population. But eventually, this technology will leave the sandbox. Imagine receiving a denial for a building permit and knowing a human being never even looked at your file. The entire mechanics of the appeal process have to change. You can't argue with a clerk who isn't there. Instead, your appeal must target the underlying logic the machine used to evaluate your case. For the engineers building these systems, this creates a strict design constraint. The algorithm cannot be a black box. Any systemic biases buried in the training data or weighted parameters must be exposed and open to audit. To achieve that, developers have to build an abstraction layer. This layer translates the math, the complex web of technical weights, into clear, human-readable administrative reasons. Without that enforced transparency into the machine's logic, a citizen's right to appeal is completely hollow. It becomes a bureaucratic formality without any actual substance. Because of its centralized governance structure, the UAE can iterate on these policies rapidly, making it a live reference point for how governments globally will navigate this transition. What we are witnessing is a massive shift in how public administration works. Human responsibility is migrating away from the exact moment a decision is made and moving upstream to the moment the system is designed. Going forward, citizens will have to develop a new critical reflex. Whenever an agency hands down a ruling on your life, your first question must be, did a human make this choice or did a machine? Because in this environment, true accountability will depend entirely on our legal right to look inside the machine and challenge its logic.